restless without rhyme or reason. I'm not an optimist, I just never dress for the season. There's no reason. It's time to pay off all my attempts to make a bad move. Procrastination, deep down a need to take a wrong turn. no fui el primero, ni seré el último, pero sé que lo gozaré. Para serte sincero, un Dios el que te enseñó lo que puedes hacer con mi piel. Yeah, 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 yeah. Baby, si se nos da, yeah, será lo que será, yeah, los dos vamos a matar, yeah, toda esa curiosidad. Baby, si se nos da, yeah, será lo que será, yeah, los dos vamos a matar, yeah, toda esa curiosidad. Solo yo sé de ese lunar, solo tú comes el pastel. Con estilo siempre te vas, pero te vienes con placer. Me dijiste no quiero nada, pero quieres todo, mujer. Baby, yo te hago soñar algo más rico que la miel, mi droga que te legalicen. No digamos el pecado, que hay cosas que no se dicen. Y en la piel tú y yo jugando, baby, para que te dices. Y tú solo dices que quieres más, que matemos la curiosidad. Eso hacemos, baby, si se nos da, yeah, será lo que será, yeah, los dos vamos a matar, yeah, toda esa curiosidad. Baby, si se nos da, yeah, será lo que será, yeah, los dos vamos a matar, yeah, toda esa curiosidad. Aquí viviendo roce, estamos solitos y eso más de las 12. Pegándote bien lento, baby, para que tú goces. No somos algo serio, pero bien si me conoces. Ya, ya, tú eres el antojo de mi vida. Si tanto que te pienso ya no encuentro la salida. Pero no somos nada, nada, girl. Pero no somos nada, nada, girl. Yeah, baby, si se nos da, yeah, será lo que será, yeah, los dos vamos a matar, yeah, toda esa curiosidad. Baby, si se nos da, yeah, será lo que será, yeah, los dos vamos a matar, yeah, toda esa curiosidad. Estoy loco por tocarte.
Every day I see miserable people doing things they hate just to fit in. I know it's easier to get along peacefully, but have you ever thought about you? Don't know why I keep on doing
What's up, everybody? Oh, mine is good. Talk to me, Mark.
What's up, man? How you doing?
Oh, we are beautiful. I love when things work like they're supposed to. We are live, Mark. We are
Man, what's going on, ladies and
live.
gentlemen? Long time no see. Great, glad to be back. Glad to be back with you, Sean, as well. I know you've been busy with work and all that stuff, man. How's all that stuff going out for you?
It's going good. Live and direct from the H. That's right, G. It's going good. It's going well. I can't complain too much about work. It's busy, but that's kind of what you hope for when it comes to work. Is you want it to kind of be busy. It's a sign of growth and a sign of sign of at least sustainability, that's good. Always good things. What about you?
Same, man. I mean, just a lot of stuff going on. Obviously, the holiday coming up, Memorial Day, so we're trying to fill things up. A lot of things with the controversy over, what was going on publicly and when it comes to one of our brands of beers. But other than that, same old, but it's all good, man. I'm just happy to be here on a Thursday with you guys. A lot of good things going on, a lot of bad things since the last time we came on, Sean. I know when we left last time, I think we had I think it was right before the Seattle game.
It was. Yep, it was.
And obviously, we were running on a real good high. But since then, I think we've accumulated 3 losses in a row in league play. We're currently outside of the playoff line, looking in. And we haven't scored any goals as well on top of that and league play. But on the bright side, this past Tuesday we had US Open Cup play down here in Shell Energy Stadium against Minnesota United, and all the goals that we missed out on league play, we obviously used them up for this game against Minnesota. Corey Bird, our champion runner, hat trick Corey Bird, so round of applause for him. Ibrahim Aliyu, our new signing from the Croatian league. He's a Nigerian player, scored his debut goal and assisted on one of the Corey Bird goals, so great game by him. Bossy out over there looking like a playmaker. And Tarbell, 3 US Open Cup games and 3 shutouts. So, 3 clean sheets for that guy too. So, round of applause to the team. We move on to the quarterfinals against Chicago Fire. And shout out to Chicago Fire for burning down that little Austin tree, the little Groot tree that, yesterday against Austin FC and Austin, a 2-0 win for those guys. So we'll meet those guys, I believe, if I remember correctly, June 6th.
Yeah.
I don't
in
remember
Chicago.
Are they playing
in Chi-Town?
Playing in Soldier Field?
It's not Soldier Field, no, but it's in Chi-Town. It's Providence Park in Chi-Town.
Oh, okay. So,
but not here.
So
but the intrigue about that, though, is that the Dynamo play in St. Louis 3 days before that match at the St. Louis away match on July 3rd. So the possibility for the Dynamo to just stay up there instead of flying back here and then flying back up there certainly exists. And that would make sense. If I'm coach, that makes a lot of sense to me. Like, might as well stay in that area, let the guys get normal rest instead of coming back here and then having to deal with another flight, but flight back, flight up. That's a lot of coordinating to deal with. And I think there's every possibility to do that. And there's a lot of interesting areas to see up there, things to do. Second City shout out. Love that comedy bar. Or comedy club, I guess, technically improv comedy club. It's to your point, it's been busy. Dynamo side for sure, been very busy. A lot of matches in a real short period of time. But as busy as they've been, it only gets busier. I don't know if you've looked at the next 5 to 6 weeks of play schedule wise. But there is no break in there more than about 2 to 3 days consistently, thanks to Open Cup, thanks to, everything else that's coming up. A lot of matches just being shoved together really quick. Where there's going to be some tired legs. So you really appreciate, coming out of Open Cup, you appreciate seeing how good Aliyu looked in that first start, his debut start. He looked ready for prime time. You have to appreciate how good Shevchenko looked. Playing back there at center back, he looked like he belonged, which was no surprise to me whatsoever. He's a strong, stout, quick enough guy to kind of hang. And there were some other players that definitely stepped up, and that's good. That's what we want to see.
And I think, obviously as far as center back, if you're a good center back, you can play center back in any league, and it's kind of the same thing in any league across the world. It's kind of one of the most adaptable positions you can play across the world. So it's one of those things where, we know where he comes from as far as clubs like Celtic and I can't think of the name of the club in Denmark off the top of my head right now, but big clubs in those countries, obviously. And, we understood that he was going to be one of those, hopefully finally find that anchor, that back line that we've been looking for,
Somebody, and let me ask this. I'm going to cut you off just for a second. Shevchenko, you look at him and you looked at how he played in the Open Cup. He still needs to probably get a couple MLS matches before, this decision is truly made. But do you think that he is defensively enough of an upgrade over Steres to play him, or even Hadebe to play him opposite Bartlow? Because I think if we're being honest, Bartlow has secured that right center back spot, and it would fall to the left center back for Shevchenko. And I for me, I think the answer is yes, but I'm kind of curious your take after Tuesday night.
Obviously, he had that unfortunate accident, so he's a little setback right now. And this US Open Cup game was a great, first test for him, because obviously he was playing against not Minnesota's United's first team, but obviously still a couple of first team players on there. And obviously they did a great job. Do I expect them to see him against Austin this Saturday? It'd be great for him to get a couple minutes against those guys. Obviously, I think you probably go with Bartlow and Mikael, to start off with, because those guys have been doing great as well. It's not their fault that the team has lost because due to lack of goals, but they've been doing their thing on defense still on a continuous basis. So it would be nice to see, because obviously you brought him in to be that guy, I would assume. And, you got to get them going. And plus, like you said, there's so many games all bunched up for the next couple of weeks that, you obviously need rotation on the squad. And, there's going to be plenty of opportunities for people. There's going to be tired legs, tired people, and you want to make sure that everybody is in there fresh and everybody knows their assignments and everybody's ready. And I think that him being a 30-something years old, a professional, as far as a soccer player goes, he understands the game and he understands what he needs to do, and he's barely coming in, so he needs to acclimate himself to the team, not vice versa. So I'm pretty sure he's gonna do whatever he needs to do to make sure that he gets the minutes that he needs to get in the squad and to be available for the team. Did I lose you, Sean?
Sorry, I was muted. My bad. I tapped my mic to mute so I could type. I think that's a fair assessment. I only asked because I know that's something we had discussed previously around the center back spot, around Steres' position there, around Hadebe's position there. I think seeing Shevchenko come on and play as well as he did, again, not really a surprise to I think anybody, but seeing him play as well as he did, yes, again, Open Cup, whatever. But seeing that was a breath of fresh air, because it means that they can't afford to look at moving either a Steres or a Hadebe, and really Hadebe's probably the odd man out. And I can't believe I'm saying that, because he had a pretty good run of matches in there. But there's again, it's Ben Olsen, and I think Ben values and prizes mentality and fortitude and toughness, and we've seen Hadebe's tendency to go into challenges and recklessly and to maybe go a little bit too hard in a lot of situations where he shouldn't. And it didn't hurt us necessarily the last time he played, and I know he's hurt right now, but the point being that I don't care if a player's hurt, if the opportunity to shop him around, and as much as we're paying him and taking up an international slot and technically a DP slot, or at least TAM, all those things into consideration, I feel like you have to consider moving him, because he's not a necessity at that position. He's not giving you an upgrade over what you have there now back, as your backups. And so I think, I think, you're right. We do have decent depth there now, But again, I flip it around and say, is that depth worth us holding a guy that we're paying 1.1 million, 1.3 million to salary, simply because he's depth at this point. Like he's not a luxury, he's not a necessity either, in my opinion.
Well, I mean, yeah, I know we've been on here a couple times, and Teenage has done a good job, but then there's always those one or two mental mistakes that he does that either cause him to get an unfortunate card or an unfortunate penalty or a fortunate sending off or whatever, But I mean, look, I'm never going to be opposed to having as many bodies in a position as much as you can, especially if it's talented players. Obviously, unfortunately, or maybe fortunately, right now, Teenage is hurt, so obviously there's more minutes to be given in that position. But with that being said, I mean, look, the defense hasn't been the problem this season, So I mean, let's give it up to those guys. The defense hasn't been an issue, and to be honest, if the defense continues like this, I mean, I would rather keep Teenage and have that rotation of Teenage, Eric, Bartlow, Mikael, Maples, whenever he gets an opportunity, whatever, and whoever else they have back there. I'd rather have those guys around because I mean, like I said, they're doing a great job. They know how they learn how to play with each other. They have that chemistry going, and they have a pride and gathering these clean sheets or when they're on the road, making sure it's not they're not getting rammed on or whatever. It's a much different thing going on. Like now we need to fix the offense. We need to help these guys because this is one of the issues that I have with Benny Ball because as much as, they want to go after that lead and get that 1-0 and protect that 1-0. I mean, it's pretty tough to protect the 1-0 lead, man, especially when you have the pressures of a team knowing that they can score a goal and tie it up and gain a point and then possibly have the opportunity to score again and win. And like I said, that's why I got to give credit to the defense because they've held on. They've held on, man, especially at home, and, I know we've gotten 2 ties on the road, and during those 2 ties, I mean, they've held on for those road points. I mean, I know one of them we could have had the win, but at the end of the day, road points are road points. And that's a rarity for the Dynamo. And, we'll get them as much as we can. But yeah, so I look, whether or not they ship Teenage off or they buy down his contract. I think the thing here is because the fact that the label of a DP is over him. So that's why we worry so much about it. And it's understandable. Like I said, look, in this league, you can't waste one of those DP spots. Nobody has the luxury to do that. Those DP spots are very essential and very important to building your roster. And you need those 3 players to be your best 3 players on your team. That's why they're getting paid the most money. Obviously Hector Herrera has shown that. Sebastian, he showed that last year, but this year, obviously, we're having issues with him, fitness wise or no confidence or whatever the issue is. And then obviously Teenage being the third one, he was doing well with alongside Bartlow, but obviously now he's injured. I think he's gone for 2 months. So there shouldn't be no surprise that the Dynamo in the position they're in the league because, like I said, only one of their DPs are actually doing their job. So,
well, and that's why I bring up the whole Hadebe thing, right? Whether it's that they buy it on the contract or they move him to another team here in MLS or they sell him abroad, whatever the opportunity is that comes up. And to your point, 2 months, it sounds like a lot, but again, there's a lot of matches between then and now, or between now and then, and young guys are going to get an opportunity to prove that, he's a luxury that we don't need. And what I mean by that is not that we don't want to have that depth, but that by him being that depth, we are hurting ourselves in terms of being able to bring in additional offensive pieces that could have more impact than he's currently been able to have this season in particular, because Benny Ball is already so strong defensively. He's not bringing a significant upgrade at that position. Whereas you could spend that 1.3 million on 1 or 2 players making 600 to 700K a year each. That's a lot in MLS terms, they would be right at the borderline. You know, you could do 600 each and they would be right at the borderline of being a DP, but not a DP, which means that you wouldn't even be using your DP slot. But the advantage is you'd be able to bring in some good, very good players from other leagues, making that amount of money in the offensive side of things, whether it's a winger or an actual hell, let's just use the 1.3 million to find an actual damn striker. That would be great. But you know, that's what I mean when I ask that question is it one of those things where, you know, it's addition by subtraction in a way, because we're giving Pat would give us more room, or give himself more room to work within the salary budget and within the roster restrictions that exist, which he's done a fairly good job of. I saw earlier today, I think it was Jeff Strong that shared with us the tweet out of, I don't even know where it's out of, about Franco. What was the guy's name? Franco Orozco. Orozco. It's in general in our Discord, so you can look at it real quick. Yeah, you can, because I can't translate Spanish that fast, but you can. So at least you can look at it and figure out what it says.
Look it up.
Yeah. But you know, basically that there's interest from the Dynamo, and you know, again, I think there's players out there globally that are players that you can go after, but you have to set yourself up in terms of your existing usage of roster slots, existing players. You're going to have to make some moves. You can't afford to sit in the summer window and let it go by and just hope that things get better. You have to be proactive, you know, and we've seen that, you know, in terms of what Pat has done in the previous window with Aliyu and some of the other players that he's brought in, and, you know, in the offseason or, you know, close to the end of the window, even with Shevchenko. You know, I think you have an opportunity to bring 2 or 3 more of those players in at reasonable salaries, and, you know, let Benny have the opportunity to have players that can improve the offense, improve your attack. You know, and maybe, hopefully, and I'm sure, you know, anybody in chat will agree with me, but hopefully what we saw out of Bird at the wing is enough to prove to Ben that Bird belongs on the wing and not at the damn striker position.
Yeah.
Let Thor have a few starts there. You know, you've already shown that you're at least willing to trust him with it. You know, be willing to give him a little bit more room to grow there, because right now that's our best bet to create opportunities. And it didn't hurt us defensively on Tuesday night, so I can't, you know, I really don't believe it would hurt us defensively to go that way either. But yeah, that's why I brought that up.
No, for sure. And this will be the last thing I say, but, you know, and we'll move on to the match of this past Tuesday, right? But yeah, like you know, I understand that, you know, obviously we have to deal with the salary cap, and we have to make sure that we're distributing the money on the salaries with players that we can that can help us out in positions that of need, right? And obviously, like we mentioned, the defense has been our best part of this season, of the squad for the season, right? And unfortunately, our offense has been, you know, piss poor in league play, because, like I said, like I mentioned, what are we, like 12 games in already? And like I said, we only have 3 goals in open play.
Yeah,
like that. Yeah. That's piss poor, man. That's really, 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 really horrible. You know, and like I said, you know, we talked about it on the last show. Analytically speaking, the numbers they're starting to catch up with the team. Obviously, we see that we've lost the last 3 games on the league, and it's getting kind of closer to where the Dynamo should technically be according to the numbers. You know, I know we were riding high with all the points and all the wins we were getting on at home, but now if you look at our schedule, a lot of road games are coming up. A lot of road games are coming up. So we'll see what happens with that. But let's move on to something a little bit more positive, Sean. And obviously, you know, the U.S. Open Cup win. I mean, you know, the last time we made it to the quarterfinals, we won the whole thing, you know, in 2018. So, I mean, you know, hopefully it's something of a repeat here going on. And obviously with all of the teams that qualified, it looks really good for the Dynamo as far as the competition left in this cup tournament, you know. And, you know, obviously we're talking about offense, and somebody finally found their scoring shoes, man. Corey Bird, man, you're our runner of the team, man. You know, hat trick, like I mentioned beginning of the show. But the interesting thing about him was he was playing on the wing, which you and me have constantly been in agreement on. That's his preferred position, at least from the standpoint of things where I see it. He plays 20 times better on the wing than he does as a center forward. And obviously this game definitely showed that for him, and then obviously with Ibrahim being, collecting the fourth goal and being up there running alongside him, I think him and Corey played really well off each other. So that's going to be a interesting thing to see for this Saturday. And with that being said, we're going to go to the poll question of the day.
Yes, sir.
If you're ready for that,
let's do it.
And for the poll question of the day, obviously, Corey Run has finally scored not once, not twice, but 3 times. Ibrahim scored his debut goal and assisted on another. Bossi, being the team player, gave up the PK to Corey, which I think, look, man, that's always a sign of a true team player when you know that you have an offensive player struggling, hasn't scored any goals. And Bossi, obviously, we know he's perfect at the PK spot. He gave him that opportunity, man, and it really opened him up. So, shout out to Bossi for doing that, man, because, not a lot of players do that. It's a real egotistic thing to be that penalty kick taker, and Bossi, most definitely showed that, hey, this is not about me trying to collect as many goals as I can, but this is about making sure that my teammate scores that goal and finally gets that monkey off his back, and that monkey came right off. Is this the front three going forward? Which means obviously Ibrahim and the 9 and Bossi and Corey Bird on the wings. 55% of you said yes, 31% not, and 14% said other, which they told us what their front three would be. I'll mention one of the guys here on the comment that what they decided to go, and that's Julio Lava Spike Jones. Shout out to Julio. What's up, Julio? How's it going? He said that he would rather have Bird and Ibrahim on the wing and Thor at the 9, with Bossi playing more of a 10 or a free Lansing role on the offensive side, which I could see that. But like I said, Benny Ball, I mean, you got to go with the formation that Benny puts out there, right? Yep. And I haven't seen a 10 out there. So I mean, if he's willing to do it, I'm all for it. I've always said, the top echelon of teams in the MLS have that number 10, have that big playmaker that goes out there and makes plays as far as distribution and scores goals himself as well, that creator. But, obviously we know Benny Ball doesn't have that position available in his formation. So, but I mean, it would be interesting. It would be very interesting because I think like we mentioned, Thor prior to this game, I mean, he scored in back-to-back games, as far as the US Open Cup against Kansas City, and then the last against against Minnesota as well. So he was getting a little bit of taste of blood on there on the pitch as far as scoring as well. Sean, what do you think? Do you think this is the front three we see for this Saturday against Austin FC?
I don't know. I can't read Benny when it comes to decision-making process. I feel like Benny has his preferred MLS formation, and then he has, he's willing to try stuff in Open Cup. That's what I've seen so far. He's very consistent with his starting lineups when it comes to MLS play. So I don't know if we do. I think we probably see a reversion back to, God, I hate it, Bird up top, with probably out wide is going to be Bossi again, and probably Franco back out there yet again, and then maybe he shifts the back line a little bit, but we know that Ache is coming off some rest because he didn't play Saturday, and we know that Bossi is also well rested, generally speaking, because he also got the red card and didn't get to play Saturday at FC Dallas, so or Frisco. So because of that, though, I mean, you've got those guys available that they've had an extra match of rest. So we'll see. I mean, it may be a situation where we do see a shift in the lineup a little bit, but again, with Benny, it's been hard to tell what he's going to do. I think a lot of times we look at it from our perspective and we're like, well, this makes so much sense. Why wouldn't he do this? and then he still does what he does. So, I don't know. I would love to see it. I would love to see that top 4. I think that makes a ton of sense and gives us a bite to the attack that we haven't had. And anytime you have a bite in the attack, you give the defense more breath, more breathing room, more space to do the thing that they do well, which is lock it down, so that the opposition attack doesn't get opportunities. And if the opposition can't score, they can't create opportunities. They can't score. And if they can't score, they can't win. And the worst you can get is a draw. The best you can get is a win. That's better than, going out there and just playing defensively and hoping for the best, to me anyways. So
no, for sure. I mean, but we mentioned MLS play, and I that's the thing about Open Cup. This is the great thing about the fact that they are advancing in the Open Cup. That they're able to give these minutes to different players and see how they do and stuff like that. But the fact that they did so greatly should give them the opportunity to try it in league play, because, like I said, we mentioned the last three games haven't been such good results, except for the road point in Frisco. But obviously I know they put Thor out there. They put, obviously Sebas got to start against Frisco, and then Thor came in for Sebas, and he scored the tying goal against Frisco for that match. And like I said, he scored against Minnesota United in Open Cup play. So, he's on a little bit of a hot streak. So I understand why you would want to give him the opportunity as well, in case, because obviously Thor is a more natural, more suited number 9 than Ibrahim is as far as, physique goes. But, like I said, even though it was against a little bit of a lower tier level competition, because obviously it wasn't Minnesota's full squad, full first team squad. I mean, and obviously they were playing against 10 men. But I mean, I like what I saw. I was there, and I like what I saw. I like the movement. I like the passing. I like the communication between the two. I mean, and that's all you ask for, man. When you have a partnership up front, for them to be able to communicate and know where each other is at, and be able to give that person the pass needed to make that goal scoring opportunity available to them.
Evil Death says there's a good chance the Dynamo can win the double US Open Cup and Leagues Cup.
I mean, look, I'm all for the US Open Cup win. I mean, obviously, I've always been that guy that I think the Cup tournament is important, not only because it brings silverware, but because it gets you to the CONCACAF Champions League. And I've always been a big component of making sure this club gets exposed globally. That's that way you build on bringing better players to this club, because they know your brand globally. But if you don't make it to these continental tournaments or these global tournaments, nobody knows who you are, and they don't care, because, like I said, it's a single entity league. If said big star wants to come to the league, why would he choose Houston Dynamo over whoever else? If whoever else is constantly playing in CONCACAF Champions League, playing for titles and things of that nature. So, yeah, man, I would be super excited if the Dynamo can lift up a U.S. Open Cup trophy, Leagues Cup trophy. It's going to be it'll be a sight to see. I mean, obviously, with the Mexican teams, being included in that tournament, I think we're paired up with Orlando City and Santos Laguna. So, I mean, that'd be a great thing to see. But, we'll talk about that once it gets a little bit closer and once we get into that tournament. But, yeah, man. But speaking of this Austin game coming up, obviously they lost the last time they came up here 2-0 to, in the beginning of the season. They suffered a loss here against Chicago last night at U.S. Open Cup play, so they're eliminated from that tournament. And they used a pretty heavy first-team squad, So, they might be coming in with tired legs, So it's one of those things where they played a day after us as well. So, I mean, we'll have a day of rest, and plus it'll be at our house. So, what are your thoughts on that game? Obviously, I guess, quote unquote, a rivalry game because they're in town. They're an in-state rival, but we'll have to let a couple of years go by before we can determine if that's a true rivalry, I guess, and not just one because there are Texas that we share Texas with them. But Sean, what are your thoughts on this game? What do you think about it? How do you see the outcome coming? Do you think we can take this momentum off this US Open Cup win and take it into league play and just dominate Austin like we did the first time around? Thoughts?
Let's get to that in a second. I want to go back to something you said. I was going to let you finish your thought, and then you just kept going.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
But you mentioned it's okay. You mentioned about how CCL is, Champions League, CONCACAF Champions League is a great opportunity for exposure, globally exposure, in other leagues around the world. I wanted to piggyback off that. There was a tweet by Victor. I think it was from today, this afternoon, actually, that there was a tweet by MLS that was put out today that was basically the top 25 jerseys or top selling jerseys for the year for MLS players. And of those 25, not a single Dynamo player appeared. And that includes the one and only Hector Herrera, which is surprising because you would think that with a player of that caliber and given some of the names on that list, there are some players that Hector Herrera has a much larger global profile than. It was a little surprising to see, certainly, but I want to point that out because, to your point, CONCACAF Champions League is a great opportunity, but what Victor was talking about there is that this falls to the Houston Dynamo's marketing department division, not doing a good enough job identifying opportunities to increase exposure for guys like Hector Herrera, guys like Amin Bassi. The list goes on, but those are kind of the top two that pop into mind immediately. Guys that fans should want to spend money to get their jersey or get their shirt. It's not happening. And I was thinking about it, and I was thinking through the different events that have been set up and things like that. And really, if you think about it, as far as Hector Herrera is concerned, after last season, I don't think I've seen a single big event that he's been part of this year related to the Dynamo.
But this
I was going to say, or marketing push. I've not seen any marketing pushes from the Dynamo to try to build up, excitement from the fan base around Hector Herrera or, any other players specifically. And maybe that's kind of a decision being made elsewhere. Maybe they want a more team-oriented approach, but, I struggle when you're talking about a guy like Hector Herrera, who has such a large global, visibility. Why wouldn't you want to capitalize on that opportunity to, improve merch sales when that is a driving force for being able to spend additional money? So I just wanted to add that to your earlier note, because I think that hurts us if we're not properly marketing or taking the time to properly market these players. And I know you have a differing opinion, but if we're not taking the time to do that, if I'm another Mexican, player playing over in Europe, and I'm on the tail end of my career, but I still have something to give, and I'm looking at opportunities in Major League Soccer, and I'm looking between the Dynamo and, say, a St. Louis FC, I'm probably not going to go with the Dynamo because they're not going to market me. They're not going to increase my exposure or give me an opportunity to sell merch. They're not doing it with Hector Herrera, who's a big enough name. So there's no chance that's going to happen for me. So I just wanted to point that out because I think that's something that I'm really glad that Victor called it out, but I think it's something that's not getting nearly enough attention and hasn't, as of today, gotten enough attention from anybody else. And it's a bigger deal than I think people are willing to give it credit for. Go ahead, Mark.
No, I think it's a huge deal. I mean, look, I've mentioned this before. I mean, we've always talked about we can't get one person. And granted, the teams that we had in the prior seasons, I mean, obviously I have nowhere near the exposure of a Hector Herrera, right? So, obviously there's more excuse for those years, but when you have 4 Seattle Sounder players in the top 25, you have 3 LAFC players in the top 25, you have 2 LA Galaxy team players and the Galaxy being the last place team in the whole entire league, still have 2 in the top 10, nonetheless in the top 25. That's just to go to say, obviously, it's a marketing issue. It's something that's going on because, I think I put it in the Discord or I retweeted it, so I put it somewhere. I think it was Fox Soccer or NBC Soccer, one of the two places. They threw out a list up there, the top 10 all-time Mexican national team players. And Hector Herrera came in at number 10, behind players like Rafa Marquez, Hugo Sanchez, Jorge Campos, Chicharito, obviously, players of that caliber. And for him to be coming in number 10 overall, that's huge. That's huge, and you have that player playing on your squad currently. I mentioned this prior, like, why didn't we get a match with Atletico Madrid as like a charity match with them, that Atletico Madrid is a big club, it's promotional both ways. Both ways. I remember when I was in Mexico about a month and a half ago, I saw a couple of LAFC kids out there,
Yeah.
I've seen a couple of Chicharito LA Galaxies. Now, I don't know if they were from there or if they were visiting or whatever, but they were out there.
Yeah.
Same thing with the marketing. Like I said, right now, like, I mean, look, you have these clubs. Where's our charity cup game? Where's our games against European clubs? Where are our exposure? We don't have it. We don't have it at all, and that's a shame. Like, who is in charge of that?
I mean, let's put it this way: the Houston Dash have had more matches against international clubs than the Dynamo this season.
Dude, look, when the Dash won that Challenge Cup, look what it did for them as far as exposure globally. Obviously, it hasn't filled the stands up as much as we hoped it has, but they played against FC Barcelona, who's the best women's team, of this generation. A Lyon from France, who is arguably the best team and currently women's team in all of soccer. Obviously, it put them up against the Thorn, who have been the best team on the pitch for NWSL, right? So
I like how you caught yourself on that. I think you realized where you were about to slip up and saying that. But yes, good job.
So I mean, when you win, it brings you much more exposure, and more teams want to meet up with you, have friendlies, have matches, involve you in tournaments, XYZ, right?
Yep. And
the fact that the Dynamo have not been involved with that, I mean, what was the last charity match that we had? Who was it against? I can't even remember. We're still fussing about the one that got canceled because of Haria against Manchester City. And that was 6 years ago.
Yeah.
How come we can't get that? Why can't we get that? Reschedule. Obviously, Manchester City's portfolio has grown massively since 2017. But why can't we get another team? Like I said, there was a perfect opportunity with Atletico Madrid. Everybody talks about the Pachuca Houston Dynamo rivalry, right? That we had back in the days. Guess what Mexican team Hector Herrera played for? Pachuca. Why can't we make something like that happen? It doesn't make sense to me. Like, who is in charge of that? Like, dude, come on, be creative out there. Make it happen. You have the biggest story, a fairy tale story over there in Europe, Wrexham, right? Not even LA Galaxy 2 is playing Wrexham. How Shell Energy Stadium will be packed if you had a friendly against Wrexham this summer.
Oh, I'd definitely be there in a heartbeat.
I guarantee you. Yeah. In a heartbeat. You telling me that you couldn't get a match or a day, especially if they're only offering LA Galaxy 2? Not even LA Galaxy with Chicharito, Ricky Puig, Douglas Costa with those big names. They're offering their number 2 squad, their D2 squad. We can't offer our first team.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying. Like, it's the marketing isn't there, the exposure isn't there, and maybe they're not getting it because, like I said, the club has been lackluster. They've been bottom of the table for the last 3-4 years, and nobody cares about the Dynamo except for us strong supporters, and that's fair, With that being said, but like, we have to get out of that mindset of like, look, man, we got to fake it till we make it. That's one of the things. Like, you got to fake it till you make it, and if you want to be a big club, then act like a big club.
It as someone in product management, AKA marketing, effectively is what it is. But there's other components to this. But as someone in product management, it is one of those situations where I look at this and it is a frustration that I cannot express enough to see so much lack of marketing in general, and it is weak attempts, weak swings at pitches down the middle. Like you said, you got a guy in Hector Herrera that's a top 10 Mexican, player right now, international
right now,
guy,
all time.
right? All time, fine, all time. I'll even get, that's fine. But to the point being though that you've got players on this team that you should be able to easily market. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, and yet we're not coming anywhere close trying to market them in a way that is tangible, in real, in a way that makes a difference. And my frustration around that comes down to, you define what your brand is. We just had this huge switch last year or a couple of years ago to a new brand for the club. And all we've done in terms of marketing perspective is we had 1 year we celebrated it, and then we just kind of didn't care about it again. Right?
We do a couple parties. That was it. But look, I'm sorry. I don't mean to cut you off. I'll just say this real quick. Like, I'm tired. Like, look, I understand that Hector Herrera is a huge thing for Mexico, whatever, but he's a Dynamo player. Why aren't people buying Dynamo Hector Herrera shirts? Stop bringing in the Mexican national team shirt. I mean, there's no disrespect to the Mexican national team shirt. It's I love y'all guys, this and that. But when he's playing for the national team, cool, wear that kit. But he plays for the Dynamo. Buy a Dynamo kit with his name on the back. Support him. Support the club.
But it comes back to, I'm going to identify the exact same thing I already said. You define the brand. You set what your brand is. Exactly. And the reason people don't buy a Hector Herrera Dynamo shirt, but are more than willing to go buy a Hector Herrera
El Tree shirt.
El Tree shirt. That I was trying to think of the nickname and I couldn't think of it. The El Tree shirt is because of the brand. They don't care about the Dynamo brand. Even if you're a fan of the Dynamo, you probably don't care about Houston Dynamo FC as a brand. You care about the team, you care about the club, but you don't care about Houston Dynamo FC as a brand. The work that was put in 1 year to make that a thing might as well have not even been the work that was put in. It didn't achieve the result they wanted, and it feels like to some level they've given up on. I don't care about Mexican fans or not. It has nothing to do with fans that celebrate his tenure with El Tree and the fact that he's one of the best El Tree players that have ever played the game. It has nothing to do with that, and it has everything to do with the fact that the Dynamo, as an organization, from a marketing perspective, have not put in the effort, they've not put in the time, and they've not achieved the results that they should have achieved. And look, I do not think that has anything to do with the caliber of fan or the type of fan that exists out there. There are enough of us that would more than happily, back it if the brand of Houston Dynamo FC was something to be proud of, to your point about winning. But even beyond that, it isn't just about winning. LA Galaxy haven't won in like 10 years. Okay, maybe it's not been that long, but it sure as hell feels like it. But they have an established brand. You look at other clubs, Sporting KC, they have an established brand. In Austin FC, they haven't won shit, but they have an established brand. That is what is going to set us apart, that is what sets us apart from these other clubs in MLS, is that they all have established brands. They've taken the time to build their brand in a specific way to have an identity on and off the pitch. But the Dynamo have wasted so much time. They were one of the first 20 teams. There is zero reason we shouldn't be leading the pack, or at least in the top 10. And it pisses me off. Sorry, I got to get this off my chest.
Go.
It pisses me off because I am a marketer at heart. That is the industry I'm in. And I am sitting here seeing this from the marketing department, and I get crickets. Like, come on, man, give me the effort. I am paying freaking money to have season tickets to watch this club, wallow away in misery and hope for a playoff spot. And it ain't even about playoff positioning. I just hate the fact that we see so many other team jerseys coming into our stadium and we can't fill our stadium, again, coming back to attendance, because damn it, we cannot market our team effectively because our marketing staff suck. And I'm putting it out there.
Just to go back on the thing, I'm not obviously what's going to help us get there faster is the product on the field, right? And when people get more connected to the team and things of that nature. But this is why I hamper about, even though people are like, hey, we're winning, we're getting points here and this and that. But like I said, yes, but Not really. I mean, you know, like I said, the difference between where we were at our last show as opposed to now, the numbers are finally catching up with the Dynamo. You know, this brand of soccer is not attractive. People don't get excited for it. You know, the type of play that Ben Olsen is trying to implement. It's not fun. You know, it's not fun. DC, when he was in DC United, I mean, you had a global name in Wayne Rooney. You know, you bring us a global name like that over here and play Benny ball, yeah, you're gonna have butts and seats, but like Hector Herrera,
you say that. Hold up, you say that. I don't think that's true.
Well, I mean,
I don't think that's true at all, and here's why: because there's no marketing. You know, there's no effort. There's no effort to push it, and I know what you're saying, but you know what I'm saying. Like, I don't want to be like, oh, it's got to be that we got to have a name player that has a personality that. Like, look, I'm gonna be honest. The real reason we would have never landed a Zlatan Ibrahimovic has nothing to do with the fact that LA is LA and everything to do with the fact that we have no fucking marketing department. Okay.
Yeah. With that being said, I know Sean's here. You know, we're trying to be a PG show, you know, and stuff like that. So I know Sean always.
That.
I think he used up our one F-bomb, so I can't use. So let me steer back a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you know, and obviously we can continue the whole show about why this and that, but like, you know, this is what happens when the team just gets let go and whatever, and poor management and poor ownership and things of that nature. And like I said, look, the stadium looks great. You brought in Hector Herrera, who by all means looks like a true captain, and obviously he's that big name that we were looking for. To kind of start steering us the right way. So, you know, the steps have been taken. Unfortunately for us, it's baby steps. And unfortunately for us, our hole is so deep down to the shits that, you know, climbing out of it, it just feels like we're just climbing and climbing and climbing. We can't see no light yet, you know, and look, we're still not seeing any light, but, you know, we're climbing in the right direction. So that's, you know, so hopefully we'll see what happens. But with that being said, let's talk about this Saturday's match, Sean.
Yep.
Austin FC, coming off a 2-0 loss against Chicago Fire. What are your thoughts on this match? Do you think that they're going to come in tired legs? Do you think they're going to come in here with something to prove? They're actually ahead of us in the standings currently in MLS play. I think they're in eighth spot while we're in 10th. Thoughts on the game?
I mean, there's no better time to hit Austin in the effing mouth. You know, this is the weekend to make a statement to MLS, make a statement to Austin, make a statement to the fans that you're playing for something real this year. You know, you're playing for something more than just playoffs. You're playing to make a point, to prove a point, and you're playing for that damn crest on your shoulder or on your chest, right? And you know, we all know as fans how important this match is to us as fans. Like, this match is paramount to how we feel the season goes. You know, if we lose, you know, if we lose to Austin at home and then go do the same thing in Austin and do the same thing when Frisco comes here, then, you know, this season, no matter how good we do, I mean, granted, if we won MLS Cup, everybody would be forgiven, but no matter how we do otherwise, you know, if we make the playoffs just by scooting in by the skin of our teeth, it won't matter because, you know, we know the pain that exists there. But yeah, it's important. It's huge. Got to make a statement. Austin's struggles recently speak to a lot of what we need to keep in mind, which is that this is a team that is looking for something and they're not finding it. They're going to play with a chip on their shoulder, but I think the Dynamo in the same way have more than enough chips on their shoulders now. I think they have a good reason to come out strong in terms of the Dynamo. I think they need to understand they need to come out strong and cannot afford to just sit back and try to absorb all of the pressure that Austin will very much place upon the Dynamo here at home. And with that being said, I think this is a match where if Benny does it right in terms of the players that he starts and the substitutions he makes, if he gives us a chance offensively, plays the right players at the right positions, emphasis Benny, if you're listening, if he does that, I honestly, and look, you know me and you know how I've been this season, I honestly think we can beat Austin here at home.
Yeah, I mean, we've done it already to start the season. I mean, look, I mean, we beat them 2-0. I mean, the Dynamo beat them 2-0. Obviously, you got a result on the road against Frisco. So obviously, like I said, those rivalry matches, those in-state rivalry matches mean a lot as far as, you know, to the fan base. You know, I know that the season could be shit or whatever, or the season could be great, you know, but if you get positive results in those two matches against those two clubs, it's obviously just a more of a cherry on top, and some extra frosting. And right now we're doing really well as far as, like, you know, 2 games played and having 4 points off of those 2 matches. You know, and with that being said, also the caveat of we're the only Texas team left in the US Open Cup, you know? So, I mean, we're riding on that high as well. You know, with that being said, I mean, like I said, I think the Dynamo are very focused on this match. And I think, you know, obviously because of the loss against Seattle and the loss against Minnesota United in league play, not the win in the US Open Cup. And then obviously the tie against Frisco, you know, I think, you know, especially at home, as dominant as we've been at home, we want to continue to show that and just and let the league know that it wasn't just a fluke, you know. And well, perfect opponents to do it against other than your in-state opponent, you know, other your in-state rival. And that would be back-to-back home wins against Austin FC. You know, 6 points off the top already off of those guys if you do come out with this win. And
we've talked about, you know, I was going to say, and we've talked about how important these matches right now are. Getting a win in any of these matches right now in this very tight scheduled run of a few weeks in a row is huge to take points, especially wins where you can. And if you can come out against an in-state rival, to your point, a team that is pushing for playoffs and in your way to get to playoffs, and you can take those 3 points at home that are super important, then you got to go out and do it. You cannot afford to come out flat. You can't afford to come out and you know, and again, absorb pressure. You can't come out in a defensive shell. You got to come out and you got to take it to Austin. So I just wanted to add that too.
And it puts you in a really good position against them, as obviously, because you go in this match with a game in hand. You're only a point behind, so if you win, obviously you go 2 points above them with a game still in hand, and you know, and you can widen that margin. You know, obviously, you know, those guys over there, you know, we can't. It sucks to say, but I mean, they had a great season last year. You know, being second in the Western Conference, but it's starting to look more and more that maybe that was a little bit of a fluke. You know, maybe just a little bit of you know, luck on their side, but. You know, with that being said, you know, we got to take care of business, and we got to get that momentum going, and we got to let them know that, hey, look, we're not the same Dynamo as the last couple of years.
Absolutely.
You're gonna come to the stadium, and you're gonna have to fight if you're gonna get a point at all. I mean, it's only Seattle and I think Colorado have managed to get points off of us at home. You know, and that's really good. So.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that we're not taking into account is right now, you know, Austin, Texas are a complete and utter dumpster fire of a club. I mean, the Austin FC is terrible. You know, they just got burned by a Chicago Fire team that really were just, you know, the Flames were just licking at their heels, and you know, full credit to the Chicago Fire. They definitely took it to them, and you know, they definitely lit a little bit under their asses, and hopefully that's enough to show the Dynamo that there's a way to do it, and we could shove them a little further in that dumpster and you know, burn it down to the ground, as they say.
Yeah, for sure. I'll be excited. So let's go to predictions, man. Sean, obviously, you know, I'll go with you first. Your regular prediction and a bold prediction if you have one.
Let's go regular prediction. Again, all dependent upon how Benny lines up on Saturday, but I'm going to say Dynamo take this one 2-0. I think is a comfortable scoreline for me. I think we see another shutout. I think 2-0. I think, you know, Hector Herrera is very familiar with that scoreline. Sorry, Hector, I had to go there. But you know, I think it's a scoreline that speaks to the growth the Houston Dynamo have made this season. It speaks to the regression that Austin FC are experiencing this season. And I think it also speaks to the opportunity that exists there. But, you know, again, you got to come out and you got to prove it. Can't afford to be in a defensive shell. Got it. You have to be willing to put your foot on the gas and go for it and not be afraid.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, look, I've always been like, hey, at home, you can't be afraid. You have to be the dominant team. You have to go out there and be on the offensive side. You have to go out there and be aggressive and put the pressure and apply the pressure on the team and all that good stuff. So, I mean, with that being said, if that happens, I think the Dynamo are going to put themselves in a good position to get an early goal, and hopefully that eases them through for the whole game, and then they're able to get another goal or two, throughout the game as the game progresses.
I haven't given my bold prediction, but I'm still waiting for you to give your realistic prediction.
Yeah, 2-0 sounds good, man. I think I'm gonna ride with you on that 2-0. 2-0 sounds really good because I mean, like I said, I'm not sure who Benny's gonna go with as far as the front three. I would love to see Ibrahim get up there and get some more minutes, obviously, and Thor as well. But I guess that's the problem of the coach, trying to figure out who gets the minutes and who gets to start and who gets to play where and for how long, right? So yeah, I think I'm gonna go 2-0. That's gonna be my final score.
I haven't actually seen anybody put predictions in yet, other than Callo saying Corey Berdinho scores a brace.
that magical shoe is gonna keep going.
I'm gonna be honest, I put that under bold predictions at this point.
I mean, look, man. I mean, I hope he kept that pair of shoes, those pair of cleats, and he's gonna wear them again this Saturday, man. He looked really good. Like I said, after he scored that PK. For him, his second goal, that chip over the goalkeeper, that was a nice goal, man. I'm not gonna front. That was a really nice.
I mean, I'll be honest. I didn't even think he understood where the goal frame actually is. Like you score in the net, not outside of the net. So
yeah, man. But that chip, that nice little chip goal for his second goal was really nice. And, it was a nice touch, and it was good for him. And I think, look, like he seemed to be having fun out there. Like it's one of those things where it sucks when you're an offensive player and you haven't done what you're supposed to do. And with offensive players, the only thing that matters are goals and assists. In this game, every one thing. If Corey Bird had 6 assists to his name or 6 or 7 assists to his name, okay, he's contributing the team's scoring. While he's on there, but he hasn't scored. He looks scared to shoot. Even in the beginning of the match, he had an open opportunity to shoot from outside the box. He didn't do it. He looked scared to shoot. Like you can't be scared. You got to you have to have that imagination and that grit and that want to do that kind of to do those kind of things and to let the opposing team know that you have that in your back pocket and you can bring it out whenever you want to. So Callo said 3-1 Dynamo. That said 2-1 Dynamo over Broccoli FC. So yeah, man. I mean, my bold. are you gonna give your bold prediction? Go ahead.
No, I was waiting for you to give yours, and I was gonna give mine because I know you're not gonna say mine, so I can do that.
My bold. What you gonna say? Steve Clark for a goal?
Hell no.
My bold prediction. Let's see. I think our new center back, Eric, how do you say his last name?
Shevchenko.
Shevchenko?
Shevchenko.
Okay, whatever you just said, I'll call him Eric.
Shevchenko.
We'll go with first name basis here.
I love it.
We'll be on first name basis here, me and Eric. I think he scores his first goal off a set piece.
Okay. So you think he's getting minutes? Is what you're saying?
Yeah. And whenever you get the set piece, he'll score a goal.
All right. My bold prediction is that Steve Clark gets a PK save in the second half, and after that is when the Dynamo go up 2-0. They were up 1-0. It was a chance for Austin to level it, and Steve Clark gets the save. Maybe he doesn't get the save. Maybe the player misses. One of those two things happens. But the PK does not go in, which is all that really realistically matters.
Who causes the PK?
What do you mean? Who gives up the PK essentially?
Yeah, who?
Teenage David. No, I'm just kidding. He's not even on the pitch. my man comes in from the hospital bed on the gurney.
Right.
Actually, I think it'll probably be probably more likely if Franco Escobar is the starter. I think he probably is the one to give it up, if I'm gonna be honest with you.
Franco. Oh, we'll see. But yeah, man. So who do you have scoring? You said 2-0. Who do you have scoring?
Bossy with the goal, a PK goal, of course, because it's Bossy. And I'll give the other one as a nod to I'm gonna give the nod to Coco. I think Coco gets another goal.
That would be nice. It was nice to see Coco finally get on the scoring sheet as well.
Yeah, he looked relieved to get on the score sheet.
Oh, for sure. I mean, like I said, once you get that first goal off your back, I think it becomes less pressure, and you're willing to go do your thing, and you're able to create much more imaginatively. For me, obviously I said Eric off of a set piece. I'm gonna go Thor.
Okay.
Yeah,
Hey, I am here for that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go Thor. I'm gonna give Thor some love, man.
I'm here for that. So I want to shift gears away from the Dynamo now that you got that. We've got some 4-0 Dynadub. Oh, gee. Damn, damn.
Callus's barred brace and Franco finally scores 2. Hey, man.
That's bold.
That's bold. Franco.
I don't think he's scoring, but that's okay. He's got less of a shooting accuracy than Corey Bird does. Let's put it that way.
Oh, man.
Okay, so I want to shift gears for just a second. I don't think we'll spend all 30 minutes on this, but I wanted to mention this. The Surge on Sunday, the Dynados are playing against Austin FC's the development league team. I can't think the whatever they're calling it. Thank you, MLS Next. I couldn't think of the freaking name. It was on the tip of my tongue. MLS Next team. Here in Houston at Houston Sports Park, and there is no better match to attend.
Wait. Is it Sports Park or that's not Aviva?
Okay, they are literally next door to each other. Go to where the damn cars are. You're gonna find it. Okay, come on. Like I need to tell you to walk a quarter of a mile, not even that far, like 100 feet, and you're there.
The parking situation is different.
Look for the little bit of smoke coming up from the Surge tailgate that's going to be happening on Sunday. Is what I'm trying to say ahead of the match. Out at Houston Sports Park, aka in this case Aviva Stadium. Yes, out in the park in there. Make sure you show up for that. It's absolutely worth it. They're going to welcome anyone and everyone. Go support the boys in orange, the Dynados players. They deserve it. They're putting in the effort, putting in the work, and there's a lot of great kids out there, and some good veterans too that are trying to do everything they can to get an opportunity. And I know from having talked to a few of them before how much it means when they get that kind of a fan, let's call it a response to what they're doing in terms of coming out like that and supporting in a strong way. There will be a few Surge people out there. There's going to be, there's going to be some food, some drinks. I'm sure plenty of drinks will be flowing. So yeah, make sure you go out there, have a good time, enjoy yourself. And it's Sunday before Memorial Day, so feel free to enjoy yourself appropriately because you should have the following day off. If you work a standard 9 to 5, unless you're Mark, and then we know that Mark is going to be busy because you don't work no 9 to 5.
I'm actually off that Monday, so I'll be fine.
Oh snap!
Yeah,
Mark about to forget his Memorial Day. Let me tell you what.
Memorial Day, what's that? Also, since we're on the topic of the Surge and stuff like that as well, shout out to Club Deportivo Surge picking up the first W this past Tuesday as well.
I wish I could have made it, man. That would have been so great to be there for that.
At the 5 league on pitch. This upcoming Tuesday, the day after Memorial Day, if you guys want to come out there and support, to start off playoffs. And
playoffs.
Yeah.
We're talking playoffs.
We have the first game, so at 6:30. So
let's go consolation bracket.
Yeah,
but you know what? We still have an opportunity to console ourselves.
To win some bars, to win some
bar
tab credit.
A little bar tab coverage.
Bar tab.
With that being said, man. Huh? I was just going to say, I fully anticipate being able to actually make it out on Tuesday. So looking forward to anybody who shows up to hang out, or those of you G Money who come out to play. I know Mark's not. Mark is busy. Always.
No, I'll be there. I was there. I was at the game this past Tuesday, but I just couldn't make it in time to go play the game.
Yeah.
Beforehand, so. But anyways, yeah, man, a lot of good things coming up. Obviously, 3-day weekend, all that stuff, and obviously the Dynamo against Austin FC. Sean, is there anything else you want to talk about? You know, I mean, obviously, I'll leave the floor up to you to see if anything you want to talk about. We can go back to another topic that we had prior, or
there is something that I want to bring up, and I've been waiting for this because I knew that this was going to be something that would happen at some point, and I just had to be careful. I didn't want to jinx it. But a huge shout out and congratulations to the most important team in the Premier League, which is Manchester City. Fuck you, Arsenal. You were never winning that Premier League trophy again. Let's go, City. I've never been so happy to cheer on City in my life.
Oh my God. This guy.
Arsenal fans were so high the entire season. The entire season. It was nothing but shit talk. Non-stop. They could do no wrong.
The top half of the table
doesn't matter because Arsenal's not winning the league, and that is all that matters. When Tottenham won second place last year, it didn't matter to anybody else on Arsenal because you didn't win the championship. Well, fuck you. You didn't either.
It's all good, man.
Hey, I do want to give a shout out though to Aston Villa. They got a damn good team they've built up over there. I am afraid of how good they're going to be in the next 2 to 3 seasons.
Good luck trying to find a coach that actually wants to coach Tottenham, figure that out first, and all good stuff, congratulations to City, obviously City doing their thing, and we'll see I think they got the FA Cup final next weekend, and then the weekend after that, they got the Champions League final.
They're going for that big ass treble, yo.
Yeah, the big treble, not the domestic treble. So
I do want to say I hope Nestor was listening to that, and if he didn't, I hope somebody clipped it and sends it to him because I know he's going to appreciate that rant for him, just for him.
Yeah, he'll be happy. Shout out to Nestor. Yeah, man. But Premier League, obviously all the European competitions are coming to an end. The seasons are kind of a couple of trophies still up for grabs and things of that nature. So it's to be a fun ending to the European season. And with that, obviously the opening of the summer transfer window for Europe and for MLS, it'll be interesting to see what the moves are going to be as far as, what clubs are going to be able to do, what players are going to be available.
What position other than striker, because we know that's going to be the number one position on your shopping list. Other than striker, if you had $1.5 million to go buy a player, transfer a player in, who are you targeting and why?
I don't have a who. I can tell you a position, but I don't know if I would spend $1.5 million.
I'll go position. That's fine. It could be less than 1.5. That's just how much money you've been allotted.
As much of a great job as Stairs has done on the right back, we need a right back that can move up and actually has some pace to them and can actually cross the ball when it goes into the offensive side of things. But shout out Stairs. I mean, he's done a immaculate job, on the defensive side as far as playing right back and obviously playing a position I don't think he's ever played before prior to this season. So, shout out to him for doing his thing. But right back would be the position of need that I would really focus on after striker. Man, because I mean, look, the Ibrahim kid, he looks good. He looks legit. Nelson Quiones is starting to look a little enticing as well. So, I think the wing position is kind of, for the most part, we're good there with Bassi, Franco, Quiones, and Ibrahim, and Baird, obviously as well. If we can finally get him back to his original position. I think striker and right back are my two positions I'm focusing on this summer. If I can get them both filled, that'd be great. If not, then obviously I'm going to go striker over right back. Obviously there's a couple of rumors out there circling about somebody from the Swedish league, a striker, but Bernard Torreira, I think his name is Torreira. But we'll see how true that is. We'll see what happens with that. It might be a legit rumor, but how sometimes the Dynamo work, they work kind of slow and they don't get it done this summer. They might get it done for the winter, but yeah, man. We'll see what happens. But like I said, those are the two positions I'm focusing on. What about yourself?
Yeah, I think those are probably the right shouts in terms of positions to focus on. There's another position that I think, honestly, I'm a little bit. I want to look at for a long-term upgrade. Maybe not I want to start looking in this window with the expectation of not actually signing somebody until the off season. But I'm gonna be honest, that's goalkeeper, and that's no crack on Steve Clark. He's been phenomenal this season. Amazing. But that's also to say that at some point the man is getting long in the tooth, and you've got to find a replacement. You've got to find that next guy. And for as good as Tarbell has been in Open Cup, he is not the guy that I want between the pipes moving forward.
But I think, I mean, and I could be wrong, but I think Xavier Valdez is looking really well, especially right now. He's at the U20 World Cup with DR. I happened to catch a little bit of the match again. I forgot who they're playing. I think they're playing. Who are they playing? Jesus. But anyways, but he looked good, man. So I mean, and he's a big boy. He's a big guy, big frame, which is what you want from a goalkeeper. And obviously he's really, really young. I think he's 18, 19, if I'm not mistaken. So
yeah, I think he's 19 this year.
Maybe if Clark.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Maybe if Clark can play this year, maybe next year, and then if Tarbell can still play a year there, that gives him 2 or 3 years to still develop, and then by the time he's aged, 21, 22, he might be ready, or maybe even before that. Because look, I mean, you have goalkeepers like Donnarumma for Italy, who started his professional career with Milan at 19, and he's the number 1 now. So I mean, why can't Xavier do it? So we'll see.
And we've seen young keepers come in and play in MLS. It's not unheard of. It's not consistent, but it isn't unheard of. Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah. Steve Clark is 37. The injuries are something that he's dealt with in his career. Last year he had that injury towards the end of the season that kept him out a few matches, and his play definitely showed his capability to be as athletic as he normally is was definitely not there for almost the entire second half of the season, it felt like. But beyond that, I agree. I think Xavier Valdez has a chance to be that guy. My concern is if he's not that guy, you put yourself in a position where you've put a lot of eggs in that basket to make that happen. And, and I think that's good, but I also think that's bad. So that's what I'm saying. Like, I would be looking for a guy. That's all I'm saying. I wouldn't be waiting for it.
No,
I would
for sure. I agree with what you're saying, especially if Dynamo, like it's one of those things where like if the Dynamo are doing really well, and then you have a rookie goalkeeper at that, or not a rookie per se, but like a really young goalkeeper, and Xavier Valdez coming in to hold that fort down, and and you have a team that's ready to compete for something big, then it might be something where but then again, we've always been proponents to like, hey man, you got to give these kids a shot. You got to give these kids a shot, for every once in a while, and if you have a true talented player that's young, and he's actually and he has more talent than what you currently have, no matter what you're paying that guy or what the age is or how many years of professional he is, you got to give the young guy a shot. Sure. But we'll see what happens. I'm excited for the kid because, like I said, he looks the part. He looks the part. The few times I've seen him play live, and then and then obviously this prior match I saw him with DR.
I'd be remiss if I didn't say it again, but this Sunday is your opportunity to see the kid play. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. I don't think he's not there. That's why I was joking about it. But I had to at least try to get a plug in somehow, some way.
For sure, but speaking of goalkeeper, I mean, goalkeeper, but what would you do as far as what would you? I mean, I don't want you to say names or whatever, because I mean, saying names at this point is kind of whatever,
Yeah.
But like, but obviously the striker is the position that I would think that they're looking to really focus on, unless somebody just goes on a hot streak here the next 3 weeks or whatever and just starts piling in goals in the bunches, right? But unless that happens, and I would not be one to be against that happening. That would be amazing if one of these guys did start scoring goals in bunches. But until that happens, what do you think? I mean, what do you think they're thinking? I mean, do you think they're looking for like an up and coming? Because these U22s, I mean, they've been real hit and miss. I know they've been trying to get young South American players and build them up and stuff like that. But man, it's been a rough go. It's been a rough go for these guys.
Yeah, I think if you look at the last few signings outside of Liu, a lot of the intention right now is probably veteran players, guys that have experience under their belt that are going to give you a season, half a season, a full couple of seasons, whatever it is. They're not guys that are going to be long-term players for your club. They're coming in to kind of do a job and then call it a day. I think that is the type of player that we're probably going to be looking for at striker. I don't think you look at the summer window, this particular summer window, especially with the names that have so far been dropped and leaked. I don't think they're looking for their long-term replacement yet at that position. I think they may be looking at some young guys for the position because you want to have that backup as well. But I think, the intention would be to get a guy in there that's at least your semi-permanent replacement for at least the next 2 seasons.
Is there anybody in MLS that you would be interested in if he became available? Like, I mean, obviously not like a Joseph Martinez or like something like that. I mean, obviously those guys.
A name that I've always liked at striker that I'm really frustrated that we didn't even bother going after. He played for San Jose. I think he was with New York. He might be somewhere else now. But it's Daniel Hosen. Hosen. I don't remember. Hoesen. He's shut up, Callow. He's terrible. Memo is the worst. But
maybe he might be talking about Memo Ochoa for your goalkeeping thing.
No, he said kid in LA. He specifically said kid in LA.
Okay.
Otherwise I'd agree with you.
Oh, Memo. Hey, Memo had a great U.S. Open Cup the other day, if I remember correctly. But anyways, shout out, Memo.
My man only does anything in Open Cup. He doesn't do anything in the actual MLS.
Yeah, well, hey, at least he wasn't like his counterpart over there doing the messy celebration against LAFC Academy, making it seem like he did something huge. But anyways, with that being said, it's gonna be intriguing because, like I said, those in league trades sometimes can help you. Obviously, I know a couple of years back, obviously we took a crack with Christian Ramirez, and it was kind of one of those where it looked great when he first came in. You're like, yo, Christian Ramirez, who was a budding U.S. men national team player, and then obviously what he's done with LAFC and Minnesota, and then what he did in Scotland. But for some reason, when players come to Dynamo, they can't do the same thing. So it becomes a little bit of a, man, what's going on? Like, why can't we find the right combination of players to make this thing happen and get this train rolling? And it's like, God, like, what can we do? You could look at like a Chicago, Chicago Fire, obviously like the bottom of the Eastern Conference. If like a Kai Kamara came available, but even though I know he's like 47 years old,
my man is like 41 right now.
but the guy still puts the ball in the back of the net. I mean, what can you say?
Pretty sure Kai plays like 5 minutes a match now. The man doesn't even start anymore.
But in those 5 minutes, he puts the ball in the back of the net. So I mean,
yeah, you're not wrong.
So I mean, it's one of those things where like, it's just and then look at Austin. Maybe we do another trade with Austin because I mean they have 2 former Dynamo players in Bruin and Maxi, and then they have Zardes. If their season starts to go to shit, maybe they start looking to offload a player or 2 or something like that maybe they can help us or whatever.
We'll trade him we'll trade him the world renowned Berdinho in exchange for Jossie Zardes at this point.
All right. But yeah, man. I mean, it's going to be interesting, like I said, because it also depends on where all these teams are falling, where they're all positioned. Because I mean, the bad and good thing about this league is that so many teams make the playoffs, so you have an opportunity to still be late in the game and still make a final playoff push, right? But but also there comes a point to where obviously we've known this for the past couple of years because we've been so far behind the playoff line that it might be July and it's like, what, it's a lost season. We might as well just do some trades and done some players or whatever and try to get something back in return for. And start looking for next season or look forward to next season or whatever. So, We'll see what happens. It's interesting, but like I said, the Dynamo are in interesting position right now with them being in the quarterfinals for the U.S. Open Cup. Obviously, this Texas Derby coming up on Saturday, and then obviously around the corner the Leagues Cup against Orlando City and Santos Lagunas are, I think, who were the teams that were pitted up against. So I mean, it's gonna be an interesting couple of months coming up. So a lot of games.
Yes. Speaking of that, with 9 minutes left, I'm gonna ask you this question. We're about a third of the way through the season. What is your rating on the following 3 criteria? Number 1, the coaching hire of Ben Olsen. Number 2, the Dynamo as a club and all the changes that went into that in terms of on the pitch performance. And number 3, in terms of the specific additions of Amin Bassi and Ivan Franco.
The hiring of a coach for me it's a D plus.
Okay.
I look. I'm not. No offense to Ben Olsen. I'm not a fan of Benny Ball. Look, I'm glad that he's gotten the wins. I'm glad that he's getting the team kind of pulled into the right direction, and he might be that coach to get us to X spot, and then the next coach would be the one that gets us to higher pasture or greener pastures, right? Who knows? But yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the hiring as far as coach goes. But I mean, but I will give him his props that obviously the team is a lot more stable. They're a lot more formidable, and they're out there competing in these games. So shout out to Benny and his coaching staff for getting these guys, for at least looking like an MLS club. So but as far as the hiring goes, it's D plus for me. I mean, like there were so many names, so many different coaches available with such more different styles, more pedigree, who could help you bring in players of certain calibers, because like I said, players respect coaches who've done things, and players would be willing to come to a franchise if they see they're serious about it. And how do you show somebody that you're serious? How do you show a big name player that you're serious? You hire a big name coach, and and that's what you do. But but with that being said, it's a D plus for me. Your second was the players that came in, right?
Yeah, we'll use player additions in the offseason.
So so the player additions, I mean, look, I'm happy with the player additions. I mean, obviously Bassi has been great. Franco Escobar, obviously he had a little bit of a shaky start, but now he's flowing in rhythm and he's been really good for us. Brad Smith has finally come off injury. He's looking great he's not great, but he's looking good in the few minutes that he's coming in as a sub. Ivan Franco, unfortunately, still hasn't scored, but I mean, he's out there doing his thing. But I mean, hopefully he can get that monkey off his back pretty soon, and start being able to contribute more on the offensive side of the ball. Who else came in? Arthur is my signing of the offseason. I think that when they made that signing, that was a signing right there where I was like, obviously he's a big name in MLS. So when they made that signing, I was like, oh, okay, they're serious about this. They're trying to put some money behind some people who actually know how to play. And Arthur, he's held down his end. He might be my player of the season. When it's all said and done. But and then your third question.
Well, let me give you a warm player, Caicedo.
Luis Caicedo, man, dude. For somebody who they picked up kind of last minute, along with Tate Schmidt, Luis Caicedo has been a really good surprise, man. And for the games that he's taken over for Herrera when he's been red carded, he's looked really good. Obviously he doesn't have the exact same talent level as Herrera, and all that stuff, but he's been able to hold the fort down, and that's all you can ask for your bench players to do, and he's been terrific during this time that he's been able to go out there. So shout out to Caicedo and Tate Schmidt for the 2 games he plays. He was doing good. Gasper, I guess
yeah. I know. Go ahead.
Gasper,
continue.
It's a wait and see, I guess, to see. Obviously his first.
My man is not seeing the pitch again this season. I'm calling it now.
His first impression was not a good one. This last one against FC Frisco was meh, but like I said, he's still I mean, you have to give him an opportunity to get acclimated with the team. So, I guess that's the benefit of the doubt that I'm giving him, is the fact that he's only been with the team for about 2 weeks. So, but we'll see what happens. So, because, I know when that money list came out, everybody was like, you paying this guy that much? And so hopefully he can prove his worth here with us, further down the line, but we'll see what happens. And what was your third question? I'm sorry.
I'm gonna adjust my third criteria to make it easier for you. Let's talk existing players that were already here. Have they stepped up this season enough, in your opinion? Guys like Coco, guys like Corey Bird. Sorry, I laughed because I was thinking of Sebas too. He should be included in this. Sebas Ferreira, Thor, Coco, and then Bartlow and Steres and Hidebe.
So Stairs, obviously, I mentioned earlier. Shout out to Stairs. I think he's obviously improved. For what we're asking him to do, he's right up there. He's one of those. Up to now, him and Arthur are like those. Like, even though I know they're not scoring goals and not making assists, but they're holding their positions down. They're manning their positions down, and they're making it. They're doing their job, and that's all we can ask for these players. And Daniel Stairs is doing the damn thing. So shout out to him. He's mentally improved. Bartlow, obviously, they have a lot of faith in him. They drafted him high a couple of years back. He had a slow start because of the concussion issues and other injuries and other nicks and knacks. But he's showing that the Dynamo weren't wrong in choosing him 4th or 5th overall in that draft. He's showing that he can man that back line. So, that he's doing the damn things as well. Hector Herrera, I think that was the biggest one. That was the biggest one where we wanted to make sure that he was in here to be here, not just to be here, collect the check. And like I said, he's showing out. He's being the captain that we need. He's getting everybody in the position they need to be at. Leading assist maker in the team. A couple of great goals that he scored on his, from set piece. He's doing the damn thing, and that's all you can ask for when you sign a player to a DP contract, that he's going to show that he's going to lead on the pitch and off the pitch. You can see sometimes, how connected he is with Bassi and Franco and all these guys that come in, and how he tries to integrate them, not just on the pitch, but outside and personally, so the Sebas thing is an unfortunate thing. It just pains me because, like, you think about it, what he was able to accomplish last season. And if we were able to get that same type of, Sebas this year, along with what's going on with the team this year, I think the team would be far, far, far more improved, and these points that we would be gathering would be much more legitimately, and the losses that we got, because look, the losses that we've had, aside from the early 3-0 loss that we had to New England, they've only been a goal down,
Yeah.
And if you had a confident Sebas out there scoring goals like he was last year, that's the difference right there between a loss, turning a loss into a tie, and turning a tie into a win. So, but yeah, and like I said, Carlos mentions that he was streaky last year, but like I said, last year he had the same issue during a certain part of the season where Nagamura was sitting him as well, for whatever reason he was sitting him, so, and it's just one of those things where, like, it's tough, man. It's tough, when you don't get a certain amount of games, back to back, or if you don't get the time needed to actually go out there and build chemistry with your guys and do all those things. But like I said, look, Sebas right now, obviously he has a D- or maybe an F or maybe an incomplete, because I haven't seen much out of him, not, due to whatever the situation was with him and the coach. So.
Yeah, I definitely agree on that part. I think I'm gonna go through mine real quick before we end the show, but I'm gonna be with you. I think what'd you give Ben, an F or a D? I don't remember. A D.
I gave him a D-.
D-. I think that's a fair rating. I think that's a reflection of the fact that, to your point, Benny is not the guy who's going to take us to the promised land of MLS Cup. He just doesn't have that he doesn't have that coaching prowess to me. I don't see it out of him. You know, we've talked about that from a tactical perspective and his choice of subs or his choice of starters, etc. You know, and his approach to certain things, you can kind of see it. And I don't think, if we're being honest, or if the Dynamo were being honest, I don't think they see him as their long-term coach. To your point, he's kind of more of a stopgap coach. So that through a third of the season, in my opinion, basically on Ben has not changed at all. And I don't think anybody should really be that dramatically changed yet. The second question in terms of the players that have been brought in, I think for the most part, to your point, a lot of them have been fantastic. But I agree with you. Artur, we knew he was going to be the standout player that was brought in this offseason in terms of just what he brings to the club, that extra bite in front of the defensive line, his capability to just kill a counterattack coming toward him. He's just very good. He's good positionally. He's a good veteran. He's a good communicator. And he eases the weight and the load on the back line. So I think that was kind of a no-brainer. But there is something that I wanted to call out, and this is, again, another very high, praise for what happened in the offseason. And you kind of mentioned it with mentioning how good Caicedo has been in the few, opportunities he's been given. But I want you to think about the players that were in those positions last year and the players that we now have in those positions on the bench that aren't even our starters in Caicedo, and how much better we improved. Probably paying less money than we were playing last year for the same the same positions and the same players. So definitely deserves an A+, across the board. Again, there are some players, Gaspar, and some other players that haven't really, made the grade, but that's why you bring in as many players as you do. And you're looking for those guys that are going to step up and the guys that aren't going to step up so that you can make room for guys that can step up. So I think that's fair. And then I think looking at the guys that were already here last year that are still here, I agree with a lot of your assessments. I think they're all kind of spot on. And I think a third of the way through the season, if I'm looking at kind of the changes on the whole across the board and what's been done in the off season and players that remain, I think I'm firmly in the grade, I would say, for the season so far. I would give it probably a C-. I think there's enough positives to take it out of the doldrums, but I don't think there's enough to say this team is definitely playoff bound. And to me, you had an opportunity to do that. It would be higher, but again, the hiring of Ben Olsen as your coach, it speaks a lot to what you think of what you have. And so, I just need to see more. And, maybe by halfway through the season, which another month or two will be there. But maybe halfway through the season, my verdict and my opinion will change. But definitely right now, I'm not seeing enough to win me over to this particular form of play.
Yeah, for sure. Obviously the league is not where we want to be at, but we have improved. We're not in the bottom cellar. We're kind of right there on borderline playoff spots at the moment, which is is an improvement from last season. Obviously, U.S. Open Cup, we're doing really well, and hopefully that continues with that trend. But yeah, man, with that being said, Sean, obviously we're a little bit past 9 o'clock. We're coming to an end here of the show. Like always, we appreciate all the support and all you guys on the chat, and whether you watch us now or you watch us later, we appreciate the support and all this stuff, and when you see us out there, come up and say hi, give us a little bit of a what's going on and what you want to hear from us as far as, Dash and Dynamo and all that stuff going on. But with that being said, hold it down always,
Let's go. Sorry, I was trying to type a damn message and you just cut it too quick. All right. Have a good one, guys. Thank y'all for joining us. We appreciate it.